Okay. Let's pick up the Ram as a mitzvah, which the Ramban denies. She, his here, kohen balmum, mihikones להיכל בכללו, והצלם המזבח, ומנהול מזבח, בו. Okay. So let's start slowly. The Ram, there is a separate law in the Torah for Knisas Balmum. However, a priori, looking at the pasuk, one would have interpreted like Rashi ala Torah, that the Preiches, it says which pasuk is it? Who Amra Yis'aleh Ach Ela Preiches Lo Yavoy V'Ala Mizbeach Lo Yigosh. So Ach Ela Preiches Lo Yavoy, Rashi says, is to prohibit Hazo Ala Preiches. And the Mizbeach is Avodah on the Mizbeach Achitzon. So then, if that's the case, this posik is not an Isa Knisa, but it's an Isa Avodah B'Balmum. And that is the opinion of the Ramban, which we'll discuss Emetz Hashem. The Ramban over here in Nasogis on this mitzvah. And the Ramban's opinion is no Isa Knisa Midaraisa. It's only a mile midivreim, and that's the Mishnah in Kalim. It's only the Rabbanon. That's why he learns the Mishnah in Kalim. It's only the Rabbanon. This approach that there is no Isa Knisa Deraisa doesn't start with the Ramban, but it's in Kadmainim. The Bahag and Rav Sadi Goin don't have a separate law of Knisas Balmum. Now, just before we go further, the question is in the pasuk in the Chayra, that's a further raya to the Ramban. We'll see exactly how to deal with that. That the pasuk says, Ach el apuriches lo yovoy, v'el mizbeach lo yigash lo yichalel. So lo yichalel l'chayra is chil avoda. If you talk about chil avoda, you talk about avoda. If you talk about avoda l'chayra, you're not at all talking about knisa. You're talking about avoda. So this whole the whole approach of the Rambam, not only from what you would have assumed is Shuta Shamikra, we'll have to see about that, but the Lo Yichalo, it becomes very difficult. So in terms of Lo Yichalel, the Eben Ozel, Mrs. Zalman, wants to say just the opposite, that in Pshuto Shel Mikra, the Lo Yichalel in Posik is not referring to Chil Avoda, but Chil HaMikdosh. And the Knisa of the Balmum is Mechalel the Mikdosh. This Eben Ozel is in Hilchos Bias HaMikdosh, Perek Vav, Halacha Aleph, Ois Daled. I'll just read you a short excerpt. L'chein muchach, and he works out what's referring to, because if there's an Isa, he assumes there's an Isa of mum in the Gemara is the Isa mum even in Bama. So why are we talking Mikdash at all? So the whole discussion over here on Preiches and Mizbeach is not about Lochein Muchach, he says, בספרו דורשו לעשות איסור. ולכן מוכח דלאו די על פרויכס לא יובו ועל מזבח לא ייגש הוא על כניסה לחוד. ועל זה כסיב קימום בוי ולהיכלס מקדושי. So he says, after Pasha Dekro hu diyesh b'zeh chilu hamikdosh, mikol mokim Chazal darshan there's also chil avodah. So he claims what the Ramban and what others are doing are taking what the drosha and reinterpreting, and that makes it pshuta shel mikvah. So there are two issues over here. The question is, why are we being joined from the Pereches and the Mizbeach? So the Ram learns it's Knisa without Avodah. We Shoinim and Kamoim learn that it's Knisa with Avodah. But the more difficult question is, what does it mean Lo Yichalel? Chazal learned that there's Chil Avodah. So comes the Rambam, because of this Zalman, it says the Chil over here in this pasuk in Pshuto Shel Mikra is not referring to Chil Avodah, but it's Chil HaMikdash. It's a drasha. So then, according to the Rambam, it's okay that if the Baal Mum comes, that the Knesset itself is Machal, the Mikdash. That is what he suggests, Rabbi Sazal. Whatever it is, the Rambam is very clear that the lav, Kohen Baal Mum, is on Knesset. So then, the Ramban wants to bring a raya that there's no Isa Knisa midaraisa from a Sifri. If you look in the Sogas Ramban, he says here, Lo Yisase Samachtes, Ubebeya Omru, Besifri, Beposik, the Ato, Ubonecho, Itcho, Tishmu, Eskohunosom, Lochol Dvar Mizbech, Libeis Laporeches, Begoime, Vazo Akov Yumos, La Avoida Atoimer, La Avoida, La Avoida says La Avoida, Atoimer La Avoida, O Eno Elo La Avoida, Ush Shalo La Avoida, Amrit, Uma Balmum, Shloi Onash Boy Miso, Loi Onash Boy Ela Avoida, Zan. Sha'onish boy misa eino din shaloi ye onesh elo la'avoida. Or ma talmud loima v'azo akov yumes la'avoida. V'hari ze mavur. So the Ramban says the state mafurish that the lav of is a lav of avoida, not knisa. So comes the Megillas Esther, and he tries to explain. He's Shumiyashiv, the Rambam, according to Sifri, and he writes like this: Voraya or Acheres shehevi me'asifri she'imei ma balmum shloi onesh boy misa loi onesh boy el avoida. So he says it's just the opposite. It's a right to the Rambam. He says like this: nearly shu hepich kavanosah shari loy oma loy hizi boy el avoida to have a mashma shein iso rak ba'avoida avol oma loy ona the mashma the einish misa ein boy ad she'avoid avol lav the aknisa bilvad ko'ovar. If he does Knisa by itself, it's only a lav. But the Einish Misa is only by Avodah. And he asks, why does it talk about Onash? Why did it say he's here? According to Ramban, it should have said he's. And the Bissa Zalman explains what he wants, what the Megillas Esther wants, because the Machokes Tanoim in Sanhedrin, Rebbe in the Chachomim, the Rebbe's opinion is that there's Misa by Balmum, and the Chom's opinion is that there's only Ashova. And comes the Megillas Esther, and he says that the Sifri is going according to Rebbe. Balmum is Chayim Misa, and that Einish, and that's what it's talking about. There's an Einish of Misa in Balmum, but it's different than Zar, because Zar, the Einish is Achmafuish. In Balmum, it's only a drosha, a gzeir shov v'chiluch. But whatever it is, he says, if the point of the Sifri is to say that the Isa of Balmum is only the Isa Avoida, not Isa Knisa, it should not have said that Onash, that the issue is not Onash, the issue is in Avoida, it's the only his here, it's only his here by Avoida. But if it's the Lashon is Onash, you could say it's Onash by Avoida, Chiyuvisa, according to Rebbe. But he's here, even by Knisa. That is the way they try to miyashiv the dealing with the Ramban's Kash. Okay, Beseda. And therefore, Mrs. Alman says, l'chayr, it's a good teretz. What the Mishnah Melech he wants, it asks on the Megillah Esther, was Miller, he says, he doesn't know what he wants. Okay, Beseda. Okay, next. Now, reading this, just plain reading of the words. I start again. HaMitzvah hatesha v'shishim, his here bohen balmum me kones lahech ubechol. So l'cher balmum is any mum. It's not any particular mum per se. It's any mum. Any mum will give him the title of balmum, and that's all he needs. However, comes the Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah Reish Ayin Zayin or Is Aleph, and Briskerov in Becheres on Memhem with Beis, and he says that this lav is only in mum miyuchadim ba'adam. You see, you have two sets of mum. You have mum miyuchadim la'adam u'behema, and you have mum miyuchadim ba'adam. We're not talking mum miyuchadim behema because that's a negeitas. But in the mumim from the adam, who is either koines, nichnas, or oived, you either have mum miyuchadim ba'adam u'behema. It's in both adam behema, and mum miyuchadim la'adam. The two separate from the Rambam. One parak deals with mum miyuchadim la'adam u'behema, the next parak deals with mum miyuchadim le'adam b'u'bad. So the question is, this lav is a lav from Balmum likonis lehicho b'choloi. Which mum we talking about? Mum michad la'adam ula behemo, or even mum michad la'adam? So that is what they deal with, and they both suggest that it's mum michad la'adam ula behemo. First, let's just take a point, okay? And this okay, now the they base this on, okay, they base this on the Rambam Perek Vav Halacha Aleph, that the Rambam is speaking there about Chil Avodah. And the Minchas Chinuch adds to it that it's on the pasuk. Ach el apurechis lo yovoy vel mizbeach lo yigash boy kimum boy lo yichal. So certainly, according to Ibn Ozel, this raya of the Minchas Chinuch, the second raya l'chayra, is completely irrelevant because he learns, according to the Rambam, that the Leichal is not going on Avodah, but Leichal is going on Mikdash. Because we're not talking about a Klein Ovid B'chlal over here in Slav. We're talking about Chila Mikdash. And it's only a drasha. The Maisi is the other Achronim, and you look in the Machon Yerushalayim, they quote from the Shaila Moira, whatever that is, also that suggests that maybe it's an Omumim, and the Chayr from Stimas Tivya Rambam, that he just says Balmum, he doesn't get involved in this question, and the whole Raya from the Pasuk of Leichalil, and Leichal, the Chayr is talking about Chila Mikdash, and Mrs. Alma interprets, so there's not that much to go on to prove it. Okay, so I'm not 100% impressed with this. I would assume a priori, unless proven otherwise, that we're talking about any move. And this, we'll talk about just telling you, it is an important issue over here, and maybe we may expand on it. I'll just tell you briefly now. Rashi in B'chayres, a Mem Gimel, or maybe it's a Pashto Gemara, you have to know that a mum yichol la'adam are not mumin, but it's a separate din of ein shava b'zara sha'al. So if that's the case, even the lav of avodah wouldn't apply to mumin yichol la'adam. The Ram, however, is not like that. The Ram learns that mum yichol la'adam are mumin, and you do violate a law, and you do get malchus. The only thing is, in mum yichol la'adam, there's no chil avodah. That is where the Minchas Chila says this is lo yichalel. So Meila, it's talking about mum yichol la'adam behema because there's no chil avodah in mum yichol la'adam. So I'm not sure how strong that is, especially after the whole discussion in the in the Pasuk from Mrs. Zalman, and you know that the Ram happens to Derech Agav talks about Chil Avodah when he's talking the general klolim of Mum Yichodim of Baal Mum. No, I'm not sure how strong the Rai is in the Lashon Ram Perek Vav Aloch Aleph. You look it up, you decide yourself. But I would assume a priori that the Hizir Baal Mukayim Baal Mum Knis Laheichal B'chlaloi is referring to all Baalim. Now, here is an interesting lashon. Leheichol b'chloloi, goitzaloima hamizbeach, ubeinu ulam v'hamizbeach, between the ulam and the mizbeach, between the ulam and the mizbeach, and the ulam and the heichol. See here, is a very interesting lashon because it starts off, it says Laheichal Bichloloi. And we'll come to that. So you get the impression, we'll see as we go on, just simply that it seems to be that the Isa of Balmum of Knesset is an Isa of a Isa to Heichel, but in the broader definition of Heichel, you're only Heichel Mamish, but even Ulam, Bein Ulam Mizbeach, and Mizbeach. Otherwise, this lashon doesn't make much sense. And I'll tell you what I think happened over here. Let's just go slowly. Achal aproiches lo yovoy, v'al mizbeach lo yigash. It talks about proiches and mizbeach because ukva is boye bereish tahayres. That's in Kalim Perek Aleph Mishnah Tes. Ki mi bein ulam lemizbeach im kol aheichol bein ulam lemizbeach im kol aheichol nesor knisas shel balei mumin. Upurei roish. Ukva is boy gam came besifro shnei alavim elu veheim al apoiches lo yovo mizbech lo yigosh לא יספיק אחד מהם בלתי או אחר, ושניהם יחד להשלומס הדין, בעניין אחד והוא הגבולת מוקרים האוסר עליהם להיכנס בו. He explains what place is mutim, what place is awesome. So the question is, what do you have? There's an Isur Heichal and there's an Isur Mizbeach. So what's the Hagbola? What's the Tzrichasa? So maybe the Rambam learned that the Isur is basically Pleiches. The Isur is basically Heichal. But comes of Mizbeach Yoboy, that it's a broader definition of Heichal. And that's the Ram seemed to learn over here. Leheichal Bichloloi. They will expand the definition of Heichal, and it includes Mizbeach, Bein Mizbeach, and Be'ulam V'Heichal. When it comes to Birei Konis, you have the very constricted definition of Heichal. When it comes to the Isa Bali Mum, it's an expanded definition of Heichal. But you see, let's go on over here. HaMizbeach ubein ulam mizbeach v'ulam v'heichal. So let's just start slowly here. Heichal is a place, okay? Bein v'ulam is also a place. The place in order to go. Bein ulam mizbeach is also a place. We'll see what the place is, but it's somewhere in the area between the ulam and the mizbeach. When it says HaMizbeach, what does that mean? Whatever it is, there are two issues. What does Mizbeach mean? What's the Isa over here? And secondly, and more interestingly, okay, not only what the question is, in Mishnah and Kalim, it says Beinul Mizbeach, and is the place around the Mizbeach or the Mizbeach, whatever it is that included in the Isa? Because the Rambam goes out of his way to say the Mizbeach is included. What's Loima HaMizbeach, Ubeinu Ulam VaMizbeach, V'ulam VaHeichal. So the Rambam here clearly says that the Isa includes Knisat of to the Mochel Mizbeach. And the Mishnah Melech also assumes like that in Hilchos Beis HaMikdash, Heg Vav Aloch Aleph. That's what he interprets the Rambam Mishnah Torah. Interpret the Rambam here clearly, okay? And the Protei Mitzvah of the Rambam, you would also assume there's an Isa Knisat to the Mizbeach, because in Protei Mitzvahs in Hilchos Beis HaMikdash he says, Shelo Yikonis Bal Mum Lehicho V'la Mizbeach. He's referring to the Mokom Mizbeach. However, this is not 100% conclusive, because the Ram in other places writes something very different. He writes, Min ha-mizbeach v'lifnim, from the mizbeach and going inwards towards the ulam and the heichal. Min ha-mizbeach v'lifnim. And it's not borrow whether min ha-mizbeach is kol l'mokum mizbeach or it means the end of the mizbeach. The Lashon Rambam in Hilchos Beis HaMikdash Perek Vav Aloch Aleph proclaim sheish beimum kavua beimum oiver lo yikonis lemikdash min hamizbeach v'lifnim We're not that much brighter over here. We don't know if it's the end of the Mizbeach. You see here, and in the Protei Mitzvahs, it's pretty clear that the Isa includes Mokum Mizbeach. In Mishnah Torah, it's not clear. However, in Minyan Mitzvah Kotz, it's also not clear. Shali Kones, Balmum, Min Mizbeach Ulifnim. Ulifnim Lehichol. Min Mizbeach Ulifnim Lehichol. However, the Minchas Chinuch, I'm not sure what happened. He's like almost misquoting the Rambam and bringing a raya from the way he quotes it, that it's like the same way in Sefer Mitzaliti. I don't know. I didn't get it 100%. Rambam, it's in Reish Ayin Zayin, Reish Aleph. Rambam Perek Vov, Hishmit Tevas Ela Mizbeach, V'kosav Diosa Lichnois Lifnim Min HaMizbeach. There's no, so I'm going to say Lifnim Min HaMizbeach. He says Lifnim Min HaMizbeach Lifnim. So he says, if he's correct, if it's Lifnim Min HaMizbeach, Nira Dein Isa Ela Lifnim Min HaMizbeach. It's from inside from the Mizbeach. So if you have that lotion, it's very clear the Mizbeach is not included. But this lotion, is not the Rambam we have. We have the Rambam says, Min HaMizbeach v'lifnim. So that I'm not sure. That's not as conclusive as the lotion that he quotes. But okay, Beseder. The Ramban seems to go out of his way. There's no Isa of Knisat Mizbeach at all. Okay, Beseder. L'chayr, that's meduyik in the Mishnah in Caleb, I would assume. This idea that I mentioned before, that the Ram says that the Isa over here is an Isa of Heichal, you also find this in Hilchos Sanhedrin. In the Minyan Alokim, in Perek Yutes Halacha Daled, he says like this: Koyin shenichnas leheichal shaloi b'shas avoda. Okay, that's birei konis. That's heichal. Balmum shenichnas lishom. What's lishom? L'chayr is talking about heichal. So you see, it's very clear that the lav is heichal. Shesuyayin shenichnas lishom. So you see again in the Hilchos Sanhedrin, the Isa is basically an Isa heichal. Now, here comes a very interesting question about Muma Kayin, who comes into the heichal. Where does he get Malchus for? So here, it could be up for grabs, because he can get Malchus for Birei Konis. He's the Chakayin. And you can get Malchus in this Nulav. You can imagine he gets two Malchus. So I just want to say something, and we'll see exactly how this plays itself out. And I'm not sure. I think the Rambam takes one side of this issue, and the Ramban takes a different side. I want to suggest in the Rambam that in Balmum, there's no Isa of Birei Konis. The same way there's no Isa Birei Konis in Zar. Because we said, as you remember last week, we said that the Isa, and that's when the Sim learns, that the Isa of Birei Konis is to do Shalik Mitzvos. The Mitzvos is with the Kiyum, and Kain has a Kiyum, that's what's Mitzvos and Kain, and the Isa is to come in without the Kiyum. So, l'chayr, if that's correct, there's no Isa of Zar, because Zar has no Kiyum. And Balmum has no Kiyum Avoida in Heichel, also wouldn't be in the Isur. The only Isur, according to the Rambam, is the Isur of this love of Knesset from Preiches and Mizbeach. It's not an Isur, there's no Isur Birrekot. So therefore, this will be very important. The next step is crucial, okay? There's a Teres Kohanim that the head to Knesset Balmum Lehechol, there's a Teres Kohanim, there's a head to for Tikkun Rikuim, which is in the Heichel. It's the sacking things in the Heichel. And if if the Teres Kohanim has a drosha achal aprichas lo yovoi, and there's no Isa Bire Konis in Balmum, it must be that the heta of Rikuyim, of Knisa and Rikuyim, is a heta of Knisa of Balmum in this new law. And then it's the Chagayv in Teres Kohanim that the Isa of Knisa Balmum, and Isa Bereis. And I saw, after I said this, I saw Mrs. Alman in Hilchos Bias HaMikdash Perevova Locha Aleph, Avu Pashtis Divrei Sifro Mashma Ki HaRambam, the Dafka Lasses Rikuyim Mutter, Rikiyis Mutter, Avu Bistam Knisa Osa Mehakra. So once you say that the Isa is that is a het der Chagav of Tzorch Rikuis, then we can talk about Lulav v'chulei. We'll see about Netilas Lulav, Bein Lulav Mizbeach, Kohen Balmum. We'll see Mitzvah Hashem as we go on, Blinen. Okay? However, the Ramban holds that Midraisa there's no Isa of Bein Lulav Mizbeach or Balmum. But there's an Isa of Birekonis Lehechel Balmum. Come on, cocaine. And therefore he explains that the heter of Knisa Luikuin or Kiyos is the Gabi the Aschora Birekonis. I'll read the Asogas Ramban over here in this mitzvah. Uma she'omu b'sifro yochol lo yikones la'asais v'kiyos. Listen, Bola Haitzi called Kanisa Shalola Avoida, Betofas Loi Hamutaris, Shilu Nichnas Ala Preches, Shalola Tzorech, Hoyechayev, Mishu Birekonis. He changes the subject. The Teres Kohanim is talking about Lo Yovoi, and he's learning that it's a hete in Birekonis, because he learns there's no Isa of Heichel of Preches. The Isa is Birekonis, no Isa Kanisa. The Rambam is Kanisa with a hetem tzorech. The Ramban changes it and says that it's an Isa Birekonis. She'osim el ve'al yovoi b'chol eis el hakodesh. It's an amazing thing. And this is Kilo Pashib Shat, and this is the Raya. This is not like the Rambam. So when I saw this Teres Kohanim, I said, Fakir, it's a Raya to the Rambam. That's I saw Mrs. Alman do. But it really depends upon one simple issue. Is there an Isa of Bia Reklus in a Kohen Balmum? And the Choy, according to the Ramban, you don't need. So the Choy and the Ramban who says that he is an Isa, you don't need mitzvos. So if you remember, I'm even wondering about Zara according to the Ramban, because when the Ramban talks about that with the Kohen, he has a lotion. You have to look at the Ramban again. It's kosher came, Levi, Israel. So I'm not sure. I'm just wondering. You see, once you're ready to say there's an Isa Bir Ekonis in Kohen Balmum, so maybe Bir Ekonis has nothing at all to do with Shalei HaMitzvos. And we were saying, according to the Rambam, that the Isa is HaMitzvos. And therefore, there's no Isa of Bir Ekonis in a Kohen Balmum. And the Isa is only this new law. And this will come out again. The Ramban can only imagine the heter of tzorich in Bir Rekonis. In this new lab, he doesn't. He can't imagine a heter. That's whatever it is. The Rambam says that there is a heter. We'll see about this later. There's a heter in this lab of tzorich. Now, just here, now we should get involved in technical issues, okay? So we have to know where these places are. There's, see, Heichal and Ulam are very clear. So when we talk about Mizbeach and Beinu Mizbeach, when you talk about Beinu Mizbeach, you're talking about 22 amas between the end of the beginning of the Ulam and the end of the Mizbeach. Okay. So the question is, do you draw a line from the Mizbeach to the Ulam straight, and from the other side of the Mizbeach to Ulam, and only that area which is Keneged Mizbeach is also? Or no, you take the whole area of the Azorah and you draw a line from the Ulam, extend the line from the beginning of the Ulam to the end of the Azorah on one side, and from the beginning of the Ulam on the other side to the end of the Azorah on the other side. Okay? And then straight from the Mizbeach. So it's the whole area of 22 amas throughout the area, throughout the Azorah. So interesting enough, is like this. There is in Megillus Esther, he holds that the Chof Beis Amo on the Roichev of the whole Azor. Rabbi Zalman says he could have imagined like that, but the Lashon Bein Ulam la Mizbeach is between the Ulam Mizbeach. The Mashmos and Lashon is only in that area between Ulam Mizbeach, but not the whole Azor. But what he adds is, and that's an important thing, that what is Mizbeach? Mizbeach, the Mizbeach is the Mizbeach Atzma. That going on the Mizbeach, the Mokum Mizbeach, is a problem for the Balmum. But when he goes in Lifnim, it's then, it's the Mizbeach, and then the other question is, when you go further in from the Mizbeach towards the Ulam, is it the whole area, the whole Roichav Chof base, or whole Azorah, or also just the extended Mizbeach? If you imagine that you're plotting the Mizbeach straight through, it's the Mizbeach is extended onwards to the Ulam, and that whole area. If you draw a line with the Mizbeach and go further, and you extend to the end of the Mizbeach, you take a line, that line, and you extend it to the Ulam, and the other side is to the Ulam, maybe it's only that area. And that is a machlik. Or it's the whole area, the whole Roichav. That's a machlik, is Mrs. Zalman and the Megillus Esther. And l'chera, if you would have said like a Mrs. Zalman, because the Lashon bein ulam la mizbeach, a priori, there's no reason to assume it's the whole area. Okay. Next. Now, he quotes the pasuk. The Ram quotes the pasuk here. It says, "Ach ela pleiches lo yavoy v'ela mizbeach lo yigash." The lo yigash is in Ksaviat Kapach. It's in Ibn Tibin and even Eoy. And that's the way it ends. That's the way it begins the whole discussion over here. In every place, the truth is, I think in Ibn Tibin, some places says something different, but it should be lo yigash, because that is what the pasuk says in the Torah. There is something added in Bloch. I don't know if you need it. Ki mum boy v'lo yichalil es mikdoshi. So, see, it comes out in the this idea of chilul is in Bloch, is in the Ksav Yad, and he quotes the rest of the pasuk. But the lashon doesn't say lo yichalo stam; it says lo yichalo mikdashi, and that would support the Rabbi Zalman that the Yisa chilul is on the mikdash, and that's the problem. And it's only drasha it's chilul. See, let's go on. By his boy b'rosh ta'ires, imi bein ulam l'mizbeach, im kol ההיכל, nesla כניסת הבעל אמור פרי ראש. See here, again, it becomes a little, this also what I would assume was spoiler business almond. Because was it kimi bein ulam la mizbeach im kol ההיכל? Is the heichel, that's a broader area, but ulam mizbeach is a very constricted area. That's what I would assume. Nesa knisasai abalimumen uprilish. Bais boy gam came besiflo. Sheshnei lavim elu. See the two lavim. Ela plichis lo yavoy, v'el mizbeach lo yigosh. Sheshnei lavim elu lo yaspik ho echad mehem bilti ho acher, u'sheshneim yachad lashlomes hadin b'inyan echad, v'hu agbolas hamokoim ho oso aleihem likones boy. So before we get, involved over here, there's something very, very important going on. And that is the following. Ram's asking a question, or there's an assumed question. Why is this not two lavim? Why is it only one lav? Because it says, Ela mikdash lo yovoy, excuse me, Ela plichis lo yovoy, v'ela mizbeach lo yigosh. So the answer is, the Ram says in Shurish Chi that this kefil, alavim, sometimes is lechizuk, And sometimes it's li hashlomas din, that you only would know din X from lav 1, and you expand the lav to include other things from lav 2. But it's not a separate lav, but it's an expansion of lav. And that's the Ram says, lo yaspiko echod mehem bilti o acher ushneim yachad la shlomish hadin be'inyan echod. It's one inyan, vuhu hagbolas hamokoim ho'oso aleim likonis boy. What is the mokoim? The mokum is this mokoim beinu mizbeach and the heichal. And that is what the two are coming together. And that is what Teres Kohanim says, tzrichas. I'm not, you see, what bothers me, the etzem svara is very nice. And it's this is a special cloud in Minyan HaMitzvos that you don't count K for Shlomish Inyan. That's very good. The only question is the Lashon of the Sefer is very odd, because you make it tzrichasa. As far as Isa is concerned, the word puzzle doesn't make any sense. And Lashon Teres Kohanim use the word puzzle. She'ilu ne'emar ela pureiches v'lo ya'omar ne'emar ela mizbeach v'yisi omer ela pureiches shu bifnim yihiyeh puzzle. What's puzzle? You're talking about puzzle avodah, but if the whole list is Knesset, what's puzzle? El mizbeach she'eno bifnim lo yihiyeh puzzle. So chloima ela mizbeach. ואילו נאמר אל המזבח, ולא נאמר על הפרויכס, איסי אומר, על המזבח שהוא כושר לעבודה, יהיה פוסל. פרויכס שאינו כושר לעבודה, לא יהיה פוסל. צורך לא עם המזבח, וצורך לא עם הפרויכס. But the other hand, this lashon doesn't make any sense. ואיסי אומר על המזבח, שהוא כושר לעבודה, Ye apostle, a mizbeach shu kosher la'avoida. Ye apostle, the mizbeach which is kosher la'avoida, he is apostle for that word. It's apostle for avoida. So it's not the Ram. I just don't know exactly how the Ram reads this Sefer. And there's also an issue which I think is beyond really what I want to talk about now. But the question is, you go at the Gis and Yalkut, there's Gis Sifra, and back and forth, which one works, and which the Mistaba, which way to go. There's a whole Korban Aaron about it. And if you're interested, look into it. I think it would just be more confusing us than getting any place. But whatever it is, this Tzrichasa, I think it is very odd. If it's a question of puzzle, I don't know. But as I said before, the next Teres Kohanim L'chayr is clear, like the Rambam, that the Rekuin is kilu a miut in the lav. Yocholo yikonis lasois Rekui Rekiyos tamaloi ma'ach. Kachu mitzvosei. HaKohanim nichnosim, im ein Kohanim Levim nichnosim. Im ein Tehirim nichnosim Tmeim. Vi ein Tmei Tmimim nichnosim Balimumim. So you would say without the lav, without the meat of ach, you would say there's an Isur lasos Rekiyos. Even though there's no avoid in the Kinasiyas Rekiyos. And that's what we discussed before. So that L'chayra, I thought, was the best raya to the Rambam. Now, here is now also very interesting. The Rambam himself really duplicates this slide. He said that Rekiyos, that the Isa is Shlo Tzerich. And that is what he's saying over here in the next line, the last line of this mitzvah. B'chol zman sheikones echod mehem min mizbeach lifnim shelo la'avoda is like it. So first of all, is Malchus for the Slav, there's a mice of Knisa. And it's also very clear that you really can't make that much out of the Loi min Mizbeach Lifnim, because Rambam is min Mizbeach Lifnim, and before he said Mizbeach also. So I don't know if there's really anything one way or the other. The whole discussion maybe is ridiculous, because the Rambam started off and clearly said the Mizbeach is also, and here he says min Mizbeach Lifnim is Malchus, L'chayr is also Mizbeach. But he says, he adds an extra 3 words over here. Shelo la'avoda. Oh, it should be extra 2 words. The loik is necessary. He should have just said, V'chol zman, she'ikolis echad mehem, min ha-mizbeach v'lifnim, loik it. What does it mean, shelo la'avoda? So the Rambam is making a very clear and statement that if the purpose of the Knesset is avoda, there's no Isa. So that becomes very odd, because the Balmum, there's an Isa deraisa for avoda. On a Balmum, it's a separate lav. So what do you mean lavoida? So the avoida means without a kiyum, or even tzerech avoida. And l'chayra, this is the rikiyos. This is what we learn from the rikiyos, or the kiyin, whatever you want, that it's tzerech of Knisa is mutter. And l'chayra, this is the heter in the Gemara in Sukkah Memdal and Aleph Amrei Shlokish Kohanim Bali Mumim Nichnasim Ben Ulam Mizbeach Kedei Lotzeis Ba'arovo. And as I pointed out before, the Rambam, that there's a hete is the Rambam the Shitosai, that the Kiyos is going on the lav of Bia of Balmum to Heichal and Mizbeach. But according to Ramban, it's going on Bia Leikon, so it's nothing to do. So do this, then there's a, you can answer, it's a very odd Mishnah Melech at the end of Hilchos Bias HaMikdash. Where is it? Perek Tes, I think. Perek Tes Halacha Tesvav, that he says that the same way as an Isa Zar, Isa of Balmum Bein Mizbeach, there's an Isa of Zar with a Kal V'Chayim. So you could have imagined that the Isa Bein Mizbeach is on Balmum, because the Balmum has a kiyum of Bein Mizbeach. So therefore it's an Isa, because it's Shlo Aveda. But Zah, we never has a kiyum avoda, is mutter, because the Isa is like HaMitzvos. But the Mishnah Melech assumes that since Balmum is also, Zah is also certainly also. And the Ramban assumes just the opposite. Since the Ramban assumes that the heter of Ach was only said in Birei Konis, as we saw in the Ramban, so Memela, If there's a heter of Bali Mumim Beinu Mizbeach, it's a raya doch that there's no Isa the rice of Knesset Bali Mumim, because there's no heter of Tzor. Tzor was always said in Be'eri Kodesh. That's what the Ramban says, and that's why the Ramban says in Asora to this mitzvah, Uma sheshoninu b'meseches kelim shein nichnos meinu mizbeach mailim medivreim. Varom ugmor sukkah tzachad noch raya. Kohanim bali mumim nichnos meinu mizbeach what's his barovo. Sheitiu lehem isa knisha divreim bishum mitzarovo. And there's no het of tzarech, so must be a drabonin, because how can you be matter unless it's an isa drabonin? But the Rambam learns is an isa deraisa the isa shleik mitzvah shel tzarech. So mele the double portion you come beinu mizbeach for the kiyum of netila sarovo lulav whatever. The Rabbi Yochanan Polau also points out that l'chera the gisa that we have in Gemara Eruvin in the Braisa is against the Ramban. Yochanan Polau lavin lois aseh kuf pei gimel. The Gemara Eruvin kuf hey amarav where we have it Tani of Kahano mitrich shnema ach el haporiches lo yovo. Referring to the lava poriches lo yovo. Yochol lo yu kohanim bali mumin nichnosim beinu mizbeach lasos v'ki pachin tamaloi ma'achalek. So it's mamish. This is mefurish like the way we're learning in the Rambam in the Gemara. The Gemara is mefurish. Okay. That is this mitzvah. And Mitzvah Hashem, next week is the Ashoras Ba'almum of Avodah, and I hope to do maybe we can do 2 or 3, at least maybe 3 or almost 3 next week. The Mitzvah, that would be nice. The real hard one is the conceptually there are problems in Ayin Aleph, but Ayin Beis is a real tough mitzvah. Mitzvah Hashem will try to take it on also next week in Mitzvah Hashem. Believe that.